I want to know what is in your vocal chain, but maybe you could just give me like the top 2 or 3 plugins that just always appear in your vocal chain that you're just like, I love that.
I'm going to be controversial here.
Please do. Break the rule. Hi everyone, welcome to Sound Factory with Splice. I'm Kate Wild, and today I'm here with 3 amazing artists who all recorded their sample packs here recently for the Vox label. So I'm just going to jump straight in because I'm really excited to chat to you all. Firstly, I'd just like to say thank you for joining me, and can you just introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Of course. So, hi guys. I'm Alina. I am a singer, songwriter, producer. I'm a part of BAER. We are a girl group. I'm here to represent for us 3. And we also are known for working on global pop music, especially K-pop. We've worked with groups like ITZY, Red Velvet, Purple Kiss, Kepler, and yeah, this is going to be our second Splice back, and so excited to be here with you guys to talk about music and production and all the things.
Amazing.
Yay! I'm SEIDS. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, also content creator and educator, and I'm also super excited to be doing my first Splice pack. And yeah, it's called Navigating the Human Heart. I'm really, really proud of it, and thank you, Kate, for working with me on this.
I love that name as
Oh,
well.
thank
It's such
you.
a touching name. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go through like all of the highs and lows of falling in and out of love and all of that bits and bobs so producers can write to it, you know. So yeah, I'm super excited about that, and thank you so much for having me.
Hi guys, I'm BAER, and I am an independent artist and a self-made pop star.
Yes!
I write, sing, rap, produce, and in general just like making music and creating things and expressing myself.
I love it.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And a fashion icon.
I
Obviously.
know, I love this. I love this, yeah.
Thank you.
It's all incredible. So I want to know, like, what is your earliest memory of music, and like, where did it all start for you, that kind of excitement about music?
You know, for me, it started very, very early. I was a part of a singing group when I was a kid. I believe I was like 5 or 6 when I got accepted into this group, and I'm from Russia originally.
Wow.
And so what we did, we toured Europe a lot with this group, so I got a chance to explore the world in this unique way. You know, it wasn't just as a tourist. We were touring, we were performing. So I remember being like, I don't know, 8 years old and performing in front of like 2,000 people at, you know, this theater in Germany, and having so much fun. There's videos of me, like, you know, a lot of the music was based on Russian folklore, and standing in front of the group, and I'm doing like the little like traditional dance, singing. I had like the loudest voice, which I don't know what happened because my voice is not that loud now, but singing without a mic for this whole theater. I don't know, it was really fun and really cool, and I think a lot of people that do, that are involved in the arts as kids oftentimes end up burning out when they get a little bit older, or they want to do something else, want to explore something else. I just never really wanted that. I always wanted to stay creative and make music, and I kept doing that.
Awesome.
Wow, that's so cool.
Well, mine is not as cool.
Oh my God, no.
Everyone has their own story.
I grew up really close to New York City, and the first thing was I think my parents took me to see Cats, the musical.
Oh.
And I was like,
Okay.
yeah, I was like, this is when I want to do something creative. I wanted,
Cats.
originally wanted to be on Broadway, which is pretty silly looking back.
That's
but-
not silly. You have a
No.
dream.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's
Got
quickly,
a dream.
Yeah.
What's that in the cards?
Oh, no. Once I went to high school, I was like, this isn't it. In high school, we had a production of Beauty and the Beast, and I got cast as Mrs. Potts, and I was like, never again.
I thought you were going to say the Beast, and then I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
That would have been better, maybe.
Iconic.
You get either, so it's like you either get to be Belle, the most beautiful woman in town, or Mrs. Potts, like the old teapot.
Right.
It's not, it
Yeah.
doesn't help like a teen's confidence, right?
I was like, you know what? I'm not down with the competitive bits of it. Like when I went to
seemed,
Berkeley,
yeah,
you went to
very
Berkeley
cool.
also, like
Yeah.
the coolest thing about it was you didn't really have to compete with anyone. All you had to do was like be yourself, and the more you tap into your divine uniqueness, the better you are.
Yeah.
So that was why I really wanted to not do musical theater. Anything but. But yeah, Cats.
Amazing, amazing.
That is a great intro.
That's honestly iconic. Yeah.
Can you beat cats?
Yeah, mine is not interesting like cats, but I would say, yeah, I wasn't around that much like music. Like my dad played a lot of songs like from his college days, but I would say my mom did kind of put piano playing on me. Like I feel like that's kind of an Asian stereotype that I here to represent. Yeah, so I kind of grew up playing like classical piano, but I didn't like it, and I didn't think that was not what translated to my later years of deciding that I wanted to do it.
We have the same thing here. Russians and classical music are tight.
Yeah.
You know, and they like smack you with a ruler if you play the wrong note on the piano. I was like, I don't like
did you play
this.
Hannon? Like the oh my god,
class. I don't like this. I don't want to be hit.
Oh my goodness. It does seem like when you get into music education, they do put you down the sort of classical route first, and then it's only later in life you're like, oh, there's actually other things. Like, this is what I'm
and
listening
I
to.
feel like with those, it's not even like my parents didn't want me to go into music. It's almost like a added bonus of like, oh, she also plays. It's like just like a part of the program almost. Yeah. But
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was super
But
interesting.
I'm thankful for that now because it all ties into, I'm like, oh, thank God I did learn how, I can play keys now.
Yeah. I wish I had learned.
Helps.
Yeah.
It helps.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm like, thank you, Mom.
So when then did you start using Splice, and how does using samples fit into your workflow now as creators of music?
I feel like I started pretty early. 2016, like that's pretty much early days of Splice, I want to say. As soon as I discovered Splice, I was like, I'm never doing whatever the heck I was doing before, which was probably some sample some producer in 2010 gave me and I kept using up until that point. So for me, it's a giant part of my workflow. From idea generation, like I'm not ashamed. I will pluck a loop and just put it in and write to it if I really like it. You know, sometimes you compose from scratch, but sometimes you don't. Especially, I'm sure you guys relate. Like we all create a lot of music. For me, being like a working songwriter, we usually, on average, write like 80 to 120 songs a year. So not everything can be like from scratch, like super intricately composed. So sometimes it's really nice to just grab a loop and get started and feel that inspiration and not run into blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't start producing until towards the end of 2020 because all my singing gigs were canceled and I started producing.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so the way I started producing was because I was scrolling around on Facebook. I was just home doing nothing, and an ad popped up, learn how to produce in 30 days. And I was like, this is stupid. I went to Berkeley and I did not learn how to produce. So I was like, whatever, not gonna do this. But I clicked on it and they had a sale. So I said, okay, let me take this class.
That's the universe.
Yeah, that was the universe. It was like $70, and the first thing the teacher recommended was to download Splice. So that was actually the first thing I bought.
Good feature. We love that.
Was this?
So yeah, it was on a site that's now called, I think it's called something different now, but it was called Learn Monthly.
Okay.
And it was blanks. Learn by, he like literally is the reason for my career.
Monthly thing.
Yes,
right?
it was Learn Monthly, and you
Yeah.
take it for 30 days, and it was with blanks. I don't even think they offer it like that anymore, or I don't know.
I think they do because I just took Andrew Huang's course last.
Oh yeah, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I love their
Amazing,
platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're called like Studio now. I
Yeah,
think.
Studio. Yeah, like blanks, like it's blanks, and introducing me to Splice and introducing me to Logic, and kind of like revved my career.
That's amazing.
I think
And
that's
then
so.
TikTok.
I think that's so
That's
exciting
so
too. You know, because like pandemic, obviously like hard time, and you turned it into like a whole new level
you're
for your
killing
career.
it.
It
That's
was for
dope.
sure. It was like very dark for me. Like my grandfather died, my uncle died. Like it was like as dark as it like could get,
Like
and
you
then
Really pulled
Information
yourself
era.
out of that. Like,
yeah,
turn
but
to
also
education.
it's like the silver lining. Like I have an incredible career now that I wouldn't be able to even dream of.
Yeah, or like like that version of you before wouldn't even be like, oh, that's what I want. You know? Yeah.
Oh, like like literally I'm a different human.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Like
beautiful.
I live in Vegas now. Like just my life is so different.
Wow, that
So-
was just really meant to be, huh?
It was just a
Took you and
pivotal.
said, "You're going here."
Yeah,
girl."
yeah. That course, yeah, was like
The course
doing
and the
it.
pandemic, just like the whole
Yeah.
lot, and and
Yeah.
then also posting social media, like starting to post on TikTok. Like TikTok really also changed my life. So
It's a whole other world.
yeah, it was very different. Yeah, because I had moved from Vegas from New York to Vegas, I didn't have any friends and I was learning producing. So I was just like, I'm just gonna post on TikTok. Like I don't know anyone there because none of my friends or anybody was on there. And I just started posting my Logic Pro tips and just started building up like community of friends on there. I would go live if I was troubleshooting. I'd go live and be like, anyone know how to do this? And someone would
smart.
know.
That's
and like,
smart,
yeah.
yeah.
and then I started getting really good at creating content and
That's
the rest is
amazing,
history.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's
amazing.
my early days of Splice. I mean, Splice. I even before I got Logic, because I had Logic the 90-day trial, and I had like bought Splice. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring. I love that.
Yeah, very. My experience is kind of similar to yours. I remember I actually checked my like billing to see when I started it, and it was 2017. So a year. Yeah. I was like. And I remember my producer friend put me onto it, and he was like, check out this new thing. And I was like, oh my God. And yeah, it changed my life because I was also just writing, and back in that time, you had like type beats and tracks that people give you. So I'd always have to like find tracks that people give me. But then now I'm like, oh, I have just a whole arsenal of loops to write to, and then like, just hi-hat, like I literally like 5 tracks and your demo's like ready to like be started. And,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of my earliest memory of Splice, and it changed my music making world as well. And actually, yeah, even when I started producing my own stuff for my artist project, I used a lot of Splice stuff, and it was really amazing. Yeah, it's just it's nice when you have like a creative block for me, like to kind of even like go on Splice and like shop for sounds. Like I'll just, even if I'm not creating that day, I'm like, oh, like what do I like? Like what sounds are like in my palette, and like I want to like, even if they're like drum sounds or one shots, you're just like kind of building your arsenals for when you do start producing. You're like, okay, I need, and like my Splice like organization, like when you download it, it's so organized. You just like in your Ableton or whatever DAW, you search like snare or like shiny snare, and it'll like come up, and But
That's amazing. That's a good like tip
very
as well.
yeah.
It's a good tip for getting out of that like funk when you can't think of anything. You're just like,
Yeah.
I'm just save my favorite
It's so true.
sounds.
Yeah, because I feel like we all get into it, and I feel like the longer you do this, the more you get into it. Sometimes I even say like at certain points, I'm like a caricature of myself with what I'm writing, like where you have like such a style that you do it and you do it and you do it, and after a while you're like, I feel like I've done this like at least 25 times before, and you find something else, something fresh that's not in your palette, like you said, and boom, your world changes.
Yeah, or maybe it like encourages you to recreate it, and then it like pushes you like that extra boundary. You're just like, oh, actually, I want to try and make this myself. That's how I do it sometimes.
And I think like empowering people who aren't from the producer background, like I feel, I don't know about you, but like 2016, 2017, when that came on, like it changed. I was like, F all these producers, I don't need you guys. Like I'm just gonna be in my, because I already like vocal tracked and produced myself, so like I didn't need people to do that anyway, but now I was like, I don't need the tracks either. And like, as I say this now, I have a deep appreciation for producers because it's a whole different thing than just making a demo track to write to, but it does change, it just empowers like people who want to make songs. I think.
So you all have a very unique sound, which you have brought to your sample packs, like from your production to your voice to your songwriting. What advice would you give to people who are looking to develop their own sound and kind of find that within them?
That's a really good question. I would say you have to start with what you like, right? This was probably one of my biggest struggles when I was a younger creator of music, because I just wanted to do what was popular. You know, I was very hungry for success. So it's like, oh, this is hot right now, I'm gonna do this. Oh, just kidding, this has now become hot, I'm gonna do that. So you end up kind of trend chasing and not locking in on what really is yours. And I think it can be really scary too if you're like in the industry that encourages that, which like, let's be real, like the industry does encourage that. So it can be scary to step outside of what's popular now and just do you. But I find that that's just better overall and ends up bringing more success over time. And I would say starting with the type of music you grew up with the type of stuff that really lit you up as a teenager listening to music, and you know, trying to create your own version of that. Like I always say, especially in the early days, it's okay to kind of like recreate things and like be heavily inspired by things. I almost see newer producers and writers like trying to be unique so hard, and it's what they create maybe doesn't have that like really good strong basis of, you know, music theory and like understanding like pop song. I'm, you know, obviously there's so many types of music I'm thinking in terms of pop, you know, it's a little bit off. And I find that if you really spend time studying what it is that you love and like great pop songwriting, your favorite artists, and you know, doing a little bit of imitating in the early days, you end up coming through that and then developing your own things. And now when you're experimenting and breaking rules, it ends up being a lot stronger because you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and like I would add on to that, like what she said, spot on. Yeah. But I would add on, like, it sounds so dumb, but it's like supposed to be fun. Like you're supposed to enjoy it, and just like, and sometimes I'm just like, wait a minute, why am I doing this in the first place? We can do anything, right? So why this? Oh, because I like to do it. So yes, like when I'm in the studio or when I'm just like really having one of those days, I'm like, wait a minute, like I get to do this for a living. I'm getting paid to sing, or I'm getting paid to write, or whatever, and I just have to remember that and just have fun. And sometimes that helps. As silly as it sounds.
No, it's so important because like especially in like the traditional side of music, the face I made. Y'all can tell how I feel about it. In the traditional side, like it's people get discouraged.
Yes.
Like I know so many successful people that are like miserable because they're not having fun because the industry just like really got them down, which no shade at them, like I felt it. So it's good to remember to have fun.
Yeah, it's so true. I think there's a big culture of like, you know, it's got to be done this way, or it's, you know, your EQ is not quite right, or this thing, you're using the wrong this type of equipment, and it's like, you know what, I'm just having fun, just want to experiment, and this is how you make new sounds, I think.
Yeah, early days when because when I moved out here like 9 years ago, I started off as a songwriter, vocal producer, so a lot of, I think in the songwriting world, because you are trying to write for other people, you are studying so much and you almost lose your voice because you get so good at doing what
imitating
you know, and like I'm trying to, you know, get a cut, and I never got one. but like, I feel like in retrospect, I would still say it is very important to almost, like study the things that light you up, like you said, and really like get down to, what about this makes it hit for you, and I think through that, once you know the rules, you can have fun and break them and find yourself.
And that's the best part.
Yeah, exactly,
I'm so glad you said that phrase as well, because I had a music teacher who used to say that. They were like, first you have to learn the rules and then you break them. And I was like, can I just always break them? It's way more fun. But it's true. All of you across your sample packs that you have out with us are very experimental in the way that you use your voice. I want to hear a little bit about your favorite ways of manipulating your voice in ways that are maybe non-typical for vocal samples.
I just did something cool yesterday.
So I like to do, so because I'm new at producing and because I'm a singer first, I like to use my vocals in like ways to make it sound like an instrument. So building an instrument out of my vocals, or arpeggiating my vocals, or making it a vocoder. So that's kind of like a cool way. And one of the things I've learned in the last 3 years is that you should put something, I I produce in the box, entirely in the box. But something that you could do to make it sound more natural is to just add more natural sound. So your voice or like real actual claps, or I mean Splice works too because a lot of those are like real actual claps and just something like real into the track, and it sounds like so organic. And I do feel like that's, you know, when Billie Eilish came out, she's kind of made a big impact on that because she puts her voice in so many places all over the track, and real samples from actually outside, not everything in the box. So like a combination of those
Breaking
two
the
things.
rules again, isn't it? Because it's not non-traditional. It's not what we hear all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I try to use my voice in lots of places in the tracks.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think to add this one, just like a really quick thing people can try out, just literally reversing a vocal phrase, and it sounds like some like spiritual chant almost.
It's a full
And it's just like,
right?
and so that's something I like just like messed around with, and I was like, oh wow, that sounds really eerie and cool that I'm gonna.
Yeah, because I think with
trick.
vocal sample packs, people sometimes think that like you're just taking them for like the hooks or the phrases, which obviously are great, but even within that, you can just experiment and layer them and turn them into like vocal synths. And yeah, vocoders was always one of my favorite sounds. I remember hearing it on a record, like I think it was like Lady Gaga first came out. She had like a real hard Autotune on her voice. This was kind of like, you know, you got like Cher and people that were like using it early, and you were just like, what is that sound? Yeah, Believe,
That's
like the
so
big
cool,
record. There was
yeah.
like, I mean, I won't imitate it now, but everyone used to do it with their like finger on the throat. And yeah, I remember hearing it, being like, what is that? And it, like, that was like probably my introduction, even to production, because I was just like, oh my gosh, I can take my voice and I can do this with it. Because I've got so many more instruments at my hand. So yeah.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot you can do. I would say like I've done a lot of the tricks, like reversing my vocal or like verbing, reversing, making it into effect. I feel like these days I don't do as many like trick tip oriented things with vocals. It's more just actually using, well, my voice and my other two members of Liar Voices in the room. Like recording them in ways that really bring out the texture of those voices. Because I always say this, the only instrument you have that nobody else has is your voice. So finding the parts of the voice that are the most unique and the most interesting really can create that sound without like really doing anything in the DAW to it. Like actually singing or, you know, sometimes whispering or saying things in certain ways. Like for me, just to give an example, I can do a really good airy, like, mostly air tone, and I do a lot of pads of that, like on almost every song. Again, caricature of myself, but I will stack them up and, you know, create counter melodies with pads to what I have going on in the top line. And that is a sound that a lot of people ask me, like, how'd you create that? I'm like, oh, dog, I sang it. Like, put some reverb on it. You know, so, and there's a lot of, some people I think that aren't vocalists, they get intimidated by this type of thing. But I'm like, no, you can literally do a creepy whisper or speech, like things like that, that are, you know, if you have a voice, let's say that's really raspy, you can lean into that. So that's kind of my thing. I just like real human voices and like seeing what's cool about them.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like taking the vocal engineering into it a little bit more. Like, I know I've had it where people will record the same thing, but just at different parts of the room, just to kind of get that layer and that texture. So if it's not you actually changing the dynamic of your voice, it's you using the room. But like you said, with Billie Eilish, kind of made that her thing, and just, you know, using the space that you're in. So yeah, no, totally. Okay, so we touched on it earlier about creative block. It's one of the questions I get all the time, but like it's so hard for some creatives, like if you're working on a time crunch or you've got multiple things or you've got a day job and you've only got the weekend to make this thing that you wanted to do, and it's like, oh, I've got to be creative between these hours and these hours. How do you combat creative block? Like what gets you your creative juices flowing? Like how do you move through that?
Such a real question about creative block, because it's, I think we all experience it in some ways. I find that it affects me the most when I don't set up my life in a way that works for me, like life things, like working out, sleep, things like that. Like I find when my life is lacking in healthy things, that's when my mood is down, like depression starts popping up, like, and it's very hard to be creative, at least for me, when I don't feel well. I know some people write like really great sad songs and, you know, like, but I'm just not that way. If I don't feel good, I just kind of like force myself to create at that point. So I find for me, like just as an example, I'm really creative in the mornings. You know, a lot of people are that way at night. They like stay in the studio till 2 a.m. like making beats or whatnot. For me, I sleep at 2 a.m. girl. Like I'm not gonna be out there making beats. But like 9, 10 a.m. like that's when my creativity flows. So I love to, if I can, start the day with doing something creative, like knocking out some of my more creative tasks, and then doing more of my admin tasks like emails, you know, phone calls, maybe a little bit later in the day where I have less energy. So it's kind of about knowing yourself and what works for you. That's what I think.
Yeah.
It's a really good tip. Yeah.
Putting it in my book, yeah.
Exactly. Bank
Admin stuff
Later.
It's so true.
Yeah, I feel like I have kind of a lot of little tricks for this
Amazing.
because I've struggled a lot over the years.
We want to know.
So first is, this one's kind of sounds dumb, but I'm a really big believer of like manifesting.
Yeah.
So if I just like look in the mirror and I'm like, today you're gonna write something you like. I'm not gonna care about anyone else. It's
That's
like today
fantastic.
I'm gonna write something that I'm gonna love. And even if the next day I think it's crap, because you know that exciting
Yeah.
feeling when you write something, you're like, oh, I
high.
love this.
Yeah.
Like, that's my only goal. I'm
Yeah.
gonna write something I'm gonna like. Okay, second thing, if that doesn't work. It doesn't always work, you know? Depends what mindset I'm really in, you know? Is to learn something new. I really love like learning a new little trick or like a new tip or like some new little thing.
Push
and
yourself
then,
out, like, yeah,
and then I'm
challenge
like,
yourself.
oh, okay, if that doesn't work, I give
A
my
lot of contingencies,
I've got a
I
lot
love
of
this.
these, yeah.
This is a method.
Yeah.
Really?
Sell this.
Aries. I think it's fire.
okay,
The
yeah.
SEIDS method.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Add it onto the social media
Yes.
class. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is giving myself kind of like prompts, like homework, like to be like, watch an episode, and I'm at like a girls episode, and I'm gonna write this from the point of view of Lena Dunham, and like just take it out of myself and give myself kind of like an assignment. And yeah, and if that, and also I can go into that more. Sometimes I do like time assignments, like I'm gonna write an 8-bar loop in 30 minutes, and I'm not
I
gonna do
this
anything
as
else
well.
other
it's
than
very
that.
helpful, yeah.
I do this with content too because I have to make so much content. I'm like,
my God,
I'm gonna make
yeah.
Just
7
lights
videos
like an
in 2
adrenaline
hours.
in you that you've set a timer and then I've got an hour to do
It stops you
this.
to overthinking. It refuses overthinking. It's like, okay, the first pad I find, the first thing, and just go back later, right? And if you don't like it, you just scratch it.
Right.
And then like I find like reading self-help books, like Pat Patterson's book or any sort of like
That's the songwriter guy, right?
yeah, the
Yes,
songwriting
yes.
guy, Rick Rubin, that book, the
book,
act,
okay.
yeah, just like different stuff like that really helps. And then if all else fails, I'll go on a walk.
Yeah.
Oh wait, and I have
arsenal,
my last one. Sorry. And whenever I think of anything interesting, like today, I was just like thinking of the word like desired, or how when I was younger, I used to so much want to be like desired, you know, or just you know.
It's real.
Yeah. And now I can care less, really, you know.
Okay.
But I just wrote down that word or wrote down a little phrase, and then I have like voice notes or voice memos or like notes from like years ago, and sometimes I'll just
Yeah.
like scroll through and just like find one of those words, and that will inspire me in the future me. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of like planting seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a songwriter meme, and it's like if you opened up any singer or songwriter's like
Yeah.
voice notes or they're just actual notes, it's just like like the opening.
Oh,
Just
and
so much stuff
I'm
to
so
scroll through.
disorganized. I'm so happy now that this is why I'm an Apple loyalist. Is that we have like the iCloud, so I have my voice memos from like years, like it's just there. You
Yeah.
know, like
Nice. Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah.
It helps.
Steve Jobs, thank God.
That's great. Yeah, I'm taking notes from all of that. Yeah.
That was a lot.
Good info. There's some good ones.
Mine would again be kind of a combo of you guys. I feel like, yeah, I relate to. I think number one thing for creative block is sleep. I also separate like creative block as an artist versus like, you know, when I'm on the job and a client needs me to deliver a top line, I feel like there's more ways of like,
Yes.
okay, we can start with maybe some rhyming, some words, some concepts. But if, as an artist, I'm feeling creatively blocked, I will literally just absorb from the world and just be inspired. And I feel like that definitely took me a long time to practice, literally just letting things go and just not creating, actually.
Yeah.
It's honestly, yeah, just so beneficial to take care of yourself and like feed yourself, whether that's spiritually, mentally, your body, you know, and when you're full, you're just a vessel almost for like channeling inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's my best tip, honestly.
Yeah, you've just got to recharge sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, I can't remember who said this, but someone said like writer's block is not real. It's just you not liking what you're doing.
Right.
Like it's not an actual real blockage.
Yeah.
I believe
So
that.
sometimes it's just kind of like, okay, maybe just don't get so attached to every single thing you're making.
Yeah, you get in your own way, don't you? You have to take yourself
I've had days
Yeah.
where like I'll start like 3 and I just hate it, and then by the end I feel so bad about myself, and it's just like, like, and I'm like, now thankfully I have the experience to know like,
It's okay.
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's just another day in the books, and that also means another bad day in the books is another good day that's about to come.
There you go.
That's
Yeah,
very true.
that's so true.
Today we are in Sound Factory. You've recorded your sample packs here. Iconic Studios, previously owned by Mark Ronson, but we've also had, there's been artists here like Michael Jackson, Elton John, Dua Lipa, Lizzo, Doja Cat, so many people. You can see all the plaques on the wall. Like, what was your first impression of Sound Factory, and what was it like to work here?
I just feel like it's a really cozy studio. I know it's, you know, the plaques and stuff might make it seem less so, but for me it was really comfortable, and I am one of those people, I'm not easily impressed by like gear and things, which of course everything is here that you might need, but I think the vibes are just really relaxed, and that
important, isn't it?
really
Yeah.
affects me as an artist. I don't like too cold of a studio. You know, it's just, there's a warm feeling here, and it almost feels like, you know, a lot of great people have created music here, so it's just inspiring to be here, honestly.
For me, it's never about the place, it's about the people, right? So every time I worked here, it's always been I have really fond memories here, and yeah, it's been great to be able to, you know, to think just 3 years ago, I got a DAW for the first time in Splice, and now, you know, I worked here a couple years ago, or maybe, 2 summers ago with Splice for a different project, and it's like to be here, and it's just, wow, wild.
We love you.
Yeah, it is very surreal for me. I studied music production and engineering at in college at Berkeley, so I used to be the one patching things for people and preparing for the artist's arrival, and like being like assisting the engineer, making sure the board's normaled and ready to go. So I'm very excited to be on the other side for someone to have. Yeah, I'm like getting, but like it's very exciting.
Yes.
To be the artist, and
Oh, well, we love having you. And,
Deserve it.
I'm gonna start crying. If I can't start crying.
Girl, please don't make my makeup run. No, I know.
like emotional. It's the lights. It's like, Okay, so then transport us then to your home or your working studio. What does that setup look like for you? Obviously, there's you saying about like the crazy gear here, it doesn't overly like, you know, whatever. What does it look like for you at home?
I have a pretty simple setup, so I find that I don't need a lot of outboard gear. I have a 1073 preamp. I have a couple of mics that I really like. I don't have an outboard compressor. I personally don't like using them. I prefer to compress after the fact, and a lot of the times I use very little compression of vocals and just clip gain because I have more control that way. And we love control. No, I personally just find that I come from the in the box world as well. I started producing instrumentally maybe like 2010, so at that point already things were very much in the box for people that were starting out at that point. So I never really learned, you know, how to patch things in and, you know, how to record live instruments until later on. So for me, my default is just wanting to keep things in the box, and you know, if I have to break out some mics to mic my acoustic guitar, like of course I can do that and will do that. But I really love being in the box. I love just the feeling of sitting in my computer and things are just there, and I can just start creating, playing parts, singing, and it's all just available at a moment's notice. I really, really don't like setting things up. That's like my pet peeve. I'm sure you guys can relate. Like,
Yeah,
you know, when
that.
things are not connecting and something's not working, you're like, my inspiration's gone.
Creative block, yeah.
That is it.
So I like to just like jump in and get going. So that's why things are pretty simple.
Yeah.
And candles. Lots of candles.
Oh yeah,
All over
that's part
all
of the vocal chain. Candles.
the candles are on that chain. Literally, yeah. It's all about the vibes for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I mean, I love my studio.
I love your studio.
My
Yeah.
safe
See it on
place.
set, yeah.
And again, like for me, I've come such a long way from recording like just with my laptop in a living room and the Focusrite, which I love Focusrite, but I'm really lucky because I've got to work with so many incredible music tech companies, and I still do. So I get to try lots of different gear, lots of different microphones, and yeah, it's just sometimes it's a pinch me moment. Like I'm like, I can't believe all the stuff I get to work with. Probably the most pivotal thing for me that was most surprising was getting my room treated.
Oh, yeah, that's real.
Even just recording
The sound around the room. That yeah.
Even just recording. Recording videos, like the difference in the sound and
the videos.
Yeah, just recording it with my iPhone, like literally. And I've made tons of videos about it comparing, because like actually my boyfriend and I are both producers at home, and he has like it's basically like the same dimensions, but like on the other side.
Nice.
So and his is not treated, so I can compare.
Oh, you're bougie. I love that.
Because I get to work with the companies, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah, you're
we get to do it. Yeah.
Wait your turn.
Oh, but like it's probably something that I would recommend for everyone to invest in if they can, because especially as a singer, like I was not expecting it to be like, I pretty much got it just so the audio bros would stop bothering me in my videos. Or that was my main inspiration. And then of course getting to work with these amazing companies. I worked with Haverstick Design and Acoustic Fulfillment on it, and they were just like dreams. And yeah, they did like Tori Kelly Studio, like lots of like.
So they came and like
They came and like measured it, and like
it's really
jealous.
helpful. Yeah, I had a company do that for my room as well. We had treatment before, but they dialed things in, and yeah, it's nice. I strongly recommend it. Yeah,
it's probably one of the
I've
most
tried doing it
overlooked things.
myself and makes no difference.
Yeah,
so
you have to.
I trust that.
It comes with like a science. Like they came, measured it, they outlined everything.
Because if you just buy the things and put it anywhere, which is it's like doesn't do much.
Yeah, you say it's a science.
Yeah, it's totally acoustic is a science. Yeah.
And that's been like crazy. And I also love my desk.
Yeah, you look like
You gotta love the space, you know. Everything's gotta be
It's honestly really important. You want to feel good when you're sitting at it day after
affected by my
day.
environment.
I
Very affected.
feel like we all are. Yeah, it's gotta. Yeah.
If I don't have good lighting, if I don't have a good vibe.
Yeah, well that's it. As we always say, it's about creating the vibe, isn't it? You want to have the right energy, and if that's like, you know, setting your space up in a way that you feel comfortable. I always say the same about like the sound in the room as well, because so many people think, oh, I have to have this microphone, or I have to have this interface, or I have to have this compressor, and it's like, actually, if you just look at your room first and getting that sounding really, really good, you can use way cheaper gear. And
It's more important. It's more important.
Way more important, I think.
Yeah, my setup is also very simple. I just have a Universal Audio LA610, which is like an outboard preamps plus compressor, and I actually don't remember if I used the compression going in. I do love compression. I'm a compression. I don't know, whore.
That's your sound.
Compression, yeah. And I have that feeding into a manly reference cardioid, which I don't know, it's the black and red
It's a
manly.
good mic. Yeah, it's a good mic.
Great for pop vocals. And that's pretty much it. My room is not treated, so there's
on the
hope
Christmas
for people.
List.
Yeah, on the Christmas list.
There you go.
Sure. But yeah, I would say for people who can't do that, I think just getting to know your voice and your chain, because I feel like you can definitely edit things out, but if you don't have to, that's better.
I would add in, like, if you don't have the funds for like proper treatment, one of the things you can do just for vocals, you can get acoustic panels on stands, on mic stands. I know Auralex makes some, or you can make them yourself. I've made them myself, and I'm not like a handy girl. So it's pretty easy. You just buy some boards of plywood or wood and like glue them on. No. It's, you basically can put them in a V shape behind where you're singing. You know, if you're sitting down, just put them behind yourself, and maybe if you have a little bit of a treatment behind the mic as well, it just creates that bubble. It's not perfect, but it really will help, like, versus having nothing, you know.
So then going the other way, talking about wish lists, years ago I read a book by Bruce Sweden. He was obviously the engineer with Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, called Make Music Mine, and he had a list of all the microphones they used to use to record like the Thriller album. Some as modest as like SM58 or something like that. But he talked about this Telefunken U48, and I remember being like, I want this microphone. And I Googled it, and it was like $10,000 or something, and I was like, oh, okay. And I've had a chance to like use it since and stuff, but it's been one of those ones that I was like, if I ever like just have $10,000 lying around, that's what I would spend it on. Is there a piece of equipment or microphone that would be on your wish list for the studio?
So I will have to say I have fulfilled my dream of my $10,000 microphone. Mine was the Telefunken Elam, or Elam, I don't know how to say it, 251.
Yes.
Yeah, and
that was my other one.
251,
Yeah, I remember singing on it like 8 years ago. I rented it from Blackbird Studios in Nashville, and it was, I think, my favorite mic. I also like the Sony C800 very much. Yeah, but I didn't have $20,000 lying around. Only 10. So I had to pick between the two, and I felt like the 251 was a little bit more versatile. I like it on female vocals. I like it on male voices because I work with artists, other artists as well. So it just felt like a really good, versatile mic to use. And I also have the Universal Audio Sphere, which mimics, it models real world mics like the 251. So I've actually recorded them back to back just to see the difference. And I would say the Sphere comes really, really close. And for anybody who's like, oh man, I can't really make that investment right now, there are really good other options like that. So for me, it was just kind of time. I'm a vocalist, I record vocalists, I work with artists producing their albums. It just kind of felt like, okay, like you really need to get like the thing that you need to get.
Yeah.
So, but I would not encourage people to jump into that before they're ready. I was on the Aventone CV12 for the entire like 10 years or whatever it was before that, and it was completely fine. Made lots of records with it myself for many other artists. Nobody ever complained about the vocals, so it's a little bit
you
like
have something you like, and
a
it works.
little bit of luxury, to be honest.
Yeah, I used to sell vocals on like a MIDI. Like a
plug-in mic.
Yeah, just like a plug-in mic.
Nice.
Yeah, like without even an interface.
People record through their phone, like, and you can do that. Like,
especially if you're using really cool processing effects. Like, who could tell? Who knows?
Yeah, it's kind of like poor quality vocals are in. It's like a style. It's like in.
Bedroom pop.
By vinyl, like it's in.
So this is the new dream, basically.
Well, I still have I'm like, well, first of all, I'd like to raise SEIDS' studio for my
I have so many. I mean,
I'm like, she has a lot of, but if anything, I would love to try the C8.
800.
Yeah, that one. I'm like, I don't know if I need to.
Knowing your voice, I think you'd really like it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like the more bougie version of what I have, but I love the manly. I would say if they want to make a pink version of that, I would really like that, like pink everything. Because they don't
You're
really
speaking my language.
Yeah. So pink.
I like
pink
that.
Here.
Okay, this is probably a question you get a lot, if not the most, but your vocal chain, that secret sauce that's on top of obviously incredible songwriting and incredible vocals. I want to know what is in your vocal chain, but maybe you could just give me like the top 2 or 3 plugins that just always appear in your vocal chain that you're just like, I love that.
I'm going to be controversial here.
Please do.
Say
break the rules.
There's no such thing as secret sauce. Secrets, super amazing vocal chains that make your vocals sound so good. Guys, come on. It's really just knowing what to put after what and like what a particular voice needs.
Yeah.
You know, I work with a lot of women, right? I process most women I work with in a very similar way because I mostly work on pop and K-pop, and it's like bright pop vocals is like what we're trying to get most of the time. So for me, I use mostly universal audio plugins, but I've also recreated my chain for my friends that, are maybe more songwriters, just record demo vocals. They don't need like some really fantastic fancy chain. I've recreated it with stock Logic plugins, stock Ableton plugins, stock Cubase plugins. Like obviously some nicer plugins like UA make a difference and make it sound a little elevated, but really like you can do this type of chain on anything. And for me, it's always about boosting a little bit of a mid first, because for pop chain, we're always going to boost the top end, and that gives the crisp.
Forget about the mids.
But you have to boost. You have to boost the mids first. Then you compress. Actually, you do it DS. Then you compress, and then you boost the high. That's it. I can make it with like 4 plugins, like any EQ. Obviously like nicer sounding EQ that is going to help, like one of the UA, like Pultec or something. But you can use a stock EQ and it will be okay. A compressor, any compressor will do. Obviously, nicer one will sound better. Any de-esser before it, obviously nicer one will sound better. And then for the crisp top end, like I personally like, I think it's MAG, but I just call it MAG.
M-A-G.
Yeah, it's
EQ4.
Yeah, that one. See, you know it's there. I'm just like, oh, MAG.
Yeah, they're actually a really cute family. That's like a family-run business.
Really?
Wow.
That's
Them
so
at
dope.
NAMM, they're so sweet. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then you can have the air frequency, which you can't really get lots of places. That's pretty much all I add with that one.
That's a great one for that. Or like a Pultec or something. I'm not somebody's gonna like you have to use this or nothing else. Like really, it's just about understanding what makes that sound, and then you can use anything to do it. And then it just depends on how elevated it's gonna be. Depending on the plugins. But I wouldn't worry too much about I can't afford this really expensive plugin or this. Like just use what you have in the beginning, learn the science behind it, and then as you grow, as you earn money as a producer, you can invest into things and elevate and elevate.
The plugins in the DAW are also very expensive, like Logic and all these
I was
companies.
going to say, you do so
invest-
much on Logic Pro,
Yeah.
you must know every single one that's like.
And there's also so many free plugins and so many like different plugins that you can get for free. I will say it's not the secret sauce, but it's something that I like to use, and I'm also like a preset girly, and I think there's no shame in presets. Like these very talented engineers that have been doing this a lot longer than me have like written these presets, so it's like use them and
They're tools, just like anything, right?
So so my favorite reverb
We're
is
about to.
Reverb Waves preset Mike Hedges Sweet Over Vocal Plate. That was my favorite.
heard it here
And
first?
and I have to give credit to the person that showed it to me, Tay. Shout out Tay.
Nice. Tay sound. Yeah,
Tay
I
sounds.
love her. Yeah.
Yeah, because that I use it every single time, and it's just like it just to me sounds better than other. Well, I don't want to say my favorites because I work with everyone. I'm a free bird. But for my vocals, I do really like that one.
And the Mike Hedge preset comes with the.
So it's in there. It's Reverb.
Gotta check it
preset.
out. Yeah.
Do you have Reverb?
Yeah. It comes with the
Mike Hedges Sweet Over Vocal Plate.
Okay, sweet over vocal. Okay.
That's my
gotta
go-to for my vocals.
Amazing.
And then I use the mag. And then my favorite, the compressor I use is Native Instruments. I can't remember the name now. It's the one knobber.
One knob.
It's literally called one
It's
knob.
called no,
Not the one knob?
It's not
Okay.
called one. That's Waves.
Yes,
but this is Native Instrument. It's called.
It will come to you.
I can't remember. I'm really bad at names. Yes.
Yeah, I would completely agree with Alina on. I don't think there's a secret sauce, because especially sometimes and this is no shade to people who sell this, but when people sell vocal chains or whatever, I'm like, guys, you have to understand this works for this vocal, like every vocal is different, and it really is about understanding your voice, and that takes time and experience, and you can recreate everything with free or stock plugins. That being said, my actually Splice was how I started using this plugin, but Isotope Nectar.
Nectar is good.
Really good.
And I would suggest this to beginner people too, especially beginner people, because they have this like analyze your voice thing. So it just literally
Yeah, it's
analyzes.
almost like a match EQ, but yeah, it does.
And even through all
AI,
my,
I think.
Yeah, even through all my years of like mixing my vocals, I still use that, and then I'll tweak it a little. And I just love how it sounds. And there's a rent to own on Splice, so I didn't have to pay an astronomical fee for it. And yeah,
that's a big plugin. It has a really good harmonizer on there as well, like a spectral. I found it. It's like tucked away, and it's like you can obviously pick what harmony you want, but you can say whether you want it like panned left or right, or closer or further. And I remember being like, whoa, it's so in depth. So yeah, that's another good one. I like that as well.
And Autotune. I mean, I don't sing without Autotune.
Do you have it on as you record, or do you put it on after?
Yeah, I actually record.
Oh, I'm so glad you
Autotune.
said that. I do the same. I know it's naughty, but
I know. And
subtle. It's subtle.
I will say I never get anything like, honestly, any revisions about it, but I have had clients, like maybe one time in my 10 years of doing stuff for people, be like, oh, can you send us the untuned vocals? I'm like, trust me, you don't want that.
It's very rare, yeah.
But I just, for ease, I just recorded it with.
And you're sending it like in a way that you're happy with.
And because I'm still comping the final vocal, so it's many takes, and So I love my Autotune.
No, I love Autotune too, and Melodyne. I never record with Tune, but like total respect for people that do. For me, it throws me off. Like I have to hear the real vocal, and I don't let anybody record with it, because it's also like I find that a lot of the singers I work with them a lot, so I'm almost like training them.
Yeah.
So and a lot of them want to perform live, and so I'm like, listen, like we're gonna sing, like we're gonna sing, and like sometimes it's so embarrassing for me too, because like on a bad day, like I know I can get like real flat on a bad day, and I'm like, oh man. But it kind of gives me a reality check of like, hey, you should be doing some warm-ups, you should be stretching, like, and it keeps me in line with my voice, hearing it like real raw, and then applying tuning afterwards.
For sure.
I need to do more
of that.
Both methods.
Because I'm too used to that, and like then I hear, I'm like, oh damn, you sound.
Even still, a lot of singers perform with Autotune. And I'm a little, I see both sides, because I don't think to be a good singer you necessarily have to be on pitch 100% of the time.
You have a cool tone, listen. You can't
That's about the emotion, right?
And there's some singers that are on pitch every single note, and they don't have any oomph to them, so it's like, for me, that's not my favorite thing about a singer, like of any of the singers that I like.
Good to know.
Like I think
So if you could go back in time to a younger version of yourself when you were starting your musical journey, what advice would you give to yourself?
The laundry list.
I
have to get out a scroll.
Yeah, well, they're gonna be tears. Do we need tissues, or are we gonna cry?
Okay, so if I had to go back and give my younger self advice, I would definitely advise to myself to collaborate with people more, because I was very much like a introvert producer, writer, artist, where I'd be like in my bedroom making my beats, writing my songs, and I really wasn't part of any sort of community for a really long time until I, created Lyre with Ellie, and built our own community basically. And it can be really isolating, and it can be discouraging to kind of just feel totally on your own all the time. So, and I feel like there's a lot that you will miss about the industry too if you're like on your own, and you're young. Like, it's easy for older, maybe slightly more malicious people to like trick you into deals that are not very good for you, to get into situations that are not really helping develop you. So I say that community is like super, super important for anybody starting out. Just having friends that also make music, so vital. I would also say to try to understand as much about the current events of the music industry and things that are going on as much as you can. These days I say, hey, like, you can learn to read a contract. You should absolutely have lawyers, but you can put a contract into an AI program and ask it to explain it to you paragraph by paragraph, and it will do it.
Wow.
So investing time into understanding deals and things like that, because I've been in many situations and seen many situations that come close to destroying careers that have to do with poor deals being signed. So I would also say definitely being serious about that and never being willy-nilly about those things, and investing as much time and energy as you can into your business education.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds, great.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she nailed it. I mean, it's like being good is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, that's step one.
Yeah.
Then you have to, learn how to market yourself. I just kind of thought it ended there. Like, I'm just gonna be a good singer and then get a job singing. But now it's like, no, you have to learn how to market yourself, and this is the best time ever because you can just invest your time, or if you have money, you can invest other people to market yourself. And then also, learning how to make money. Okay, so now this is a product, so how do you sell it to people, or who's gonna buy it, or what different products can you create? Like, we've created sample packs and different things with our vocals, and it's not just performing or, just writing songs. There's that third layer of like, okay, now we're doing this for a living. How are we gonna make money?
Right.
For the long term,
it's very, very important. Yeah, I think so many people are just like, oh, I just want to be good. I want to create something beautiful.
I want to be the best.
And that's great. You can lose that later on, and I think that's very ill-advised as well, to lose your passion. But I think it's good to also have that awareness of the reality of how you're going to support yourself, and how the things you're doing are going to grow in a more material way.
Yeah, and then another thing I wish I told myself is just my relationship with rejection, right? I used to get so disappointed with rejection, but actually rejection is an open opportunity for something better. And just to say the power of no, I turn down so much. Like, I will walk away from a project or say, if they don't meet me at my rate or my terms, I'm like,
Girl,
see
it's a
ya.
book title.
Yeah.
Power of no.
and that's actually more powerful. And I've gotten more jobs from saying no, or people, meeting me just because I asked, like people meeting me to where I need them to, and those are two things. Just like having those confidence.
One of my favorite phrases, like, don't ask, don't get, as well.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to stand up for the things that you want. Yeah.
Like, no is like the most powerful word. No is more powerful than just saying yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's hot girl shit.
Yeah. I think I would probably, I feel like I'm gonna play the other side here.
Do it.
And I would tell myself to chill and to only invest my energy into like the things that really like I want to do, because I feel like when I started my journey in music, I was like such a people pleaser, and like I also was I think also my family was like on me about like making money, so like that was just like my first priority was like, okay, how am I gonna, and that's actually even why I went into music production and engineering. I was like, I will have a job at least with, like I can be a studio assistant. I was like trying to be a songwriter, vocal engineer, producer, and like just trying to make money, have a job, have security. And I think that I'm very like grateful for like me building up that muscle of being able to work hard, because now I can apply that to stuff that really lights me up and like really is like, I feel like what I'm meant to be doing. So to my younger self, and I feel like to people who might be people pleasers, it's like, just focus, pour everything into what you really want to do. And even just like with a laser focus, especially with now, I feel like everyone, like can be a niche for everything, even in the music world. Like there's not, I think now's like more than ever like a thriving time for people like doing music. There's so many opportunities. You don't have to just be an artist or a songwriter or a content creator or like, you can do so many things. And while that's amazing, you can also, I think if you're not sure of what you want to do, just try to do everything. And I think that...
Figure it out, you just taste a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I think like sometimes that can honestly just spread you thin. So it can help to just laser focus on what you want to build and pour your energy into that, and don't let other people project their goals onto
or
you.
don't feel doubt, right?
Yeah.
So step 1 is deciding what you want to do.
Yeah.
Step 2, who are the people that support that, fans or
Yeah.
clients? And step 3, how are you going to get that? Or
Right.
take action to getting that. And the
Yeah.
true undying audacity and belief that it will happen.
Yeah, and also like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you don't need a manager.
Oh, no.
First thing in your career, like I wish I could tell myself that. I went through 2 managers that were just, and like God, like bless them, you know, but like it's just, that's another, if you're not aligned, that's another energy kind of like telling you things that you might not want to do.
Yeah.
And that can really hold you back.
Yeah, well, she said it, like, learn how to do as much as you can on your own.
Yeah.
Like, until you have money, like, you're making money, you don't need to spend money even on a
don't need-
photographer, on a videographer, on clothes. Like, just learn how to, you have all of the resource to learn everything for free.
Yeah.
You can do it. You are more capable than you think you are.
Yeah.
You really, really can, and I want to piggyback on what you said too, like really having that belief in yourself and really doing the things that light you up and you want to do, you know. And I would, I would add a probably slightly older perspective to that as well, because I feel like I've been very successful at chasing what I want to do exactly and achieving some of those things. But I will also say, being probably older than both of you guys, sometimes I'm 36. I don't know, maybe. There is definitely value in letting cycles of your life happen naturally. Some cycles are about that grind, push, learn every skill that you are excited by, you know, work 14-hour days. I've done it. I'm pretty much coming out of a cycle like that right now that's lasted for about a couple of years. But you also have to kind of listen to your life, your body, what things are, signs that are happening, and sometimes it's important to pull back, take things in, consume versus create, you know, because this might be a little deep or whatnot, but the earth is cyclical, our bodies are cyclical, everything here is cyclical, so it's okay to, you know, push hard at certain times, fall back at other times, and kind of have that ebb and flow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Love that.
The old wise advice.
I love that. This is like, I'm learning so much, honestly. I'm pretty much done with asking you questions, but as you are all here, what would you ask each other? What would you ask the fellow artists in the room if you could ask a question?
Ooh, I think I have a good one. So I know both of you guys are so versatile, right? You produce, you write, you sing, you make content. I know you're a teacher as well. And that's a lot of stuff to do. I know, because I do some of these things as well. And I'm just really curious about your guys' perspective on how do you balance yourselves, how do you balance your lives to where this isn't too overwhelming, right? Because we just talked about pushing really hard and going after your biggest dream and believing in yourself. But I personally find, and I know other people I've spoken to find that, you know, when you're that ambitious, that goal-oriented, you're just leaving nothing on the table, you're going for it, it can be draining, it can be exhausting, it can be overwhelming. So how do you guys deal with that?
Well, first off, I've accepted that it's okay to leave things on the table. Like, I definitely do, always. And second of all, I'm really, like, a queen at not just multitasking, but, like, killing 17 birds with one stone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just try to, like, every single thing I do, I'm just like, how can I do this, create this? It's like, it really is like a funnel, and I am, like, pretty much very strategic with every single thing I do.
That's nice. I want to hear an actual example.
Yeah, so for instance, like, okay, I love to write music. I don't want to necessarily monetize off making music. That's not where I find joy. But I work with music tech companies, so like I just did a video with Melodyne, right? Synchro art. So I had to write some harmonies and like write a song for this, and then so it all kind of stems into that. So then I do that. Then I'm like, all right, let me make a couple of other videos, because you know that's my main thing is working with music tech companies. Let me make some other videos using these actual vocals, and then I stem those vocals in it, right? And then maybe I'll teach a class, and that class will be on like harmonies or creating vocals, and you know what I mean. So it's like one thing
Can be
scatters about,
so
and so it's
helpful.
like, okay, so now I've checked off all those boxes, right? Like with that, or if I need to make some content, maybe I'll just like film my day, or like I'll be learning something and I can't figure out how to do something, and that's kind of how I learn, is like instantly research. Okay, how do I do this thing? How do I do this? Is this possible? And then if it is, I make a quick video about it. There's my logic tip for the day, and there's my thing, you know, so it's all connected.
So as you're learning, you're also then creating straight away.
And every single thing is content, right, for me, right? So every single thing I do, music related, is content as much as I can, right? So it all is optimized.
That's
I optimize my time.
Assembly line.
Smart, very smart.
Yeah. That's
And I'm
amazing.
also always thinking of ideas. Like here now, I'm thinking of little pieces, ideas. In my free time, I'm thinking. When I'm sleeping, I'm thinking. Like it always, it's always driven towards the product.
Nice.
Yeah.
And because I've studied the step one, what I like to do, I'm spending my time doing what I like to do. Like I really enjoy making the content. Everyone says, "Oh, I hate social media." I mean, I really like it because I've created. If you don't like the content you're creating, or you don't like social media, you haven't tapped into the thing that you actually like making.
Right, yeah.
Because you can make content out of anything.
Yeah.
Any type of person. Even if you're like kind of like a dry, cold person, you can make content. Like if you're an accountant, you can make content. If all you care about is making soap or candles, like you can make content. Like it's just anything. You just haven't landed on your style, right? Like if you're a really cool lo-fi guy, you can just walk around the city you're in, add a cool filter, write a cool quote from a book, and play your headphone in the shadow, and you can make something cool, and you can optimize that. Like it all connects, and ultimately creating music is creating content. We all are content creators, so it's like, man, you're just a content creator. Like, no.
I love how lit up you just got. About it. I love that this is one of your passions.
Well, I get people sharing my videos being like, this is what musicians are today. They just create content and blah, 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 and it's like, whatever.
That's engagement.
But it's people misunderstanding, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what was it before? What was music before? Like how many people, like you would not be able to do what I'm doing from home, making what I'm making, being creative. Like this was not existent. What do you mean now? Like now is the best time. Like what do you, like CCR, that they can't even play their own songs because they sign their own songs away? Like, what do you mean it was better before? For who?
Right, I was there. It was not better.
What do you mean? Who was it better for? Explain this to me.
It's true. It's true.
I feel like I kind of resonate, like to piggyback off your cycle thing, and I feel like for me, after much self-discovery, I think for certain people, balance is overrated, and sometimes you kind of like just have to be in the zone of like whatever era you're in, you know, and like sometimes that's like
lean into it.
Yeah, like for me, I'm actually about to enter like album mode, and I haven't created for my artistry in like a year and a half actually. I've been stacking money, you know, to fund my artist career.
Yeah.
And I think it used to like kind of stress me out, like, oh my God, like I have to do this or do everything at the same time.
That's the hardest thing, I think,
all
and
things.
one that's really hard to pull off.
And I feel like now I've learned that I'm actually better at really diving into something and giving that my full attention. When I, like, actually this summer, I learned how to sew.
I saw that. I'm so impressed by that. I was never able
It was
to
on my
manage
like bucket list for like 3 years. I had my sewing machine, I bought it, sitting there, and I was like, and I kept trying to like incorporate it into my music life. I'm like, yeah, and I was just like, this is my time, like, even like self-love, I'm like, if I love myself, I'm gonna just pour myself into like something that lights me up, even if it's not to do with like my profession or my music, you know, because for me, like, I think back to like my introduction about like it all kind of ties in together, because my goal is one day I'll be like making my own fits and like for my, you know, shoot.
You're creative, and it's so hard to stuff that into a box.
Yeah, or like just do all the things constantly. And I think even when I learned production, I was so scared I was gonna lose my songwriting abilities. I was like, oh my God, now I'm not writing a song a day. Am I gonna get bad at like writing songs? But now I'm like, I have the wisdom to know, like, you know, because I do think a lot of us, like, and I see people in the world, like, you identify with more than just one thing. Like, no one's just one thing. You can't just put someone, and I think sometimes it can be so stressful to be like, well, like, you know, I'm trying to do all these things, but I feel like, yeah, I just let myself, I'm practicing to let myself like just dive into one thing at a time, and like there's a season for that, and then there's a season for my next whatever I want to do, you know. Yeah.
Amazing.
Wise.
Besides, what would your question be?
Okay, well, I have two separate questions. Because I was in a girl group and I found it
You were?
challenging.
Oh my God.
Yeah, before to do cruise ships. Like, remember, I think, yeah, well, I didn't say it here, but I had a girl group that was meant to go on cruise ships, and we were going to do like cabarets and stuff. And it was very hard for me because I just kind of like to be the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
And I hate to like negotiate creatively or just in general. So how do you find working with others?
So I think the side of the industry I come from is all about working with others. You know, working on K-pop, it's always in a team. It's never by yourself.
That's true.
So, and I've been doing that for such a long time. For me, it's become a natural part of my process. I do enjoy writing, producing by myself, but what ends up happening, I'll start something and then the next natural thought for me is like, oh, let me bring the girls in, or let me send it to this producer to finish this beat. Like, that's kind of how I think at this point. So for me, it feels really good too because, well, Ellie is my best friend. I would die for that girl, and I'm not joking. Like, trucks coming for her, I'm jumping in front of it, like the end. And Giselle is like a little sister to me. You know, I've known her for only a couple of years, but it was just one of those natural synergies. I met her as part of She's the Music's mentorship program. I was like her mentor in songwriting, and I was like, this little girl is so talented.
And you recruited her.
I was like, I want to help.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's because of that, I think it's makes it a lot easier that there's such like love and respect for each other. And of course things can be a little bit challenging, right? Even like small things like choosing what we all wear for a video. But I don't know, I just like, I know women, I understand women, like I know what it's like to not like what your body looks like in something, so I'm not gonna force somebody to wear something I chose for them, you know, if they don't enjoy it. So we always find compromises. We like find good ways to move forward with things, even if somebody is not like 100% happy.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like that's just how it is working with anybody in any situation. Sometimes there's no perfect scenario where everyone's just like overjoyed, but you just have to find something where everybody's okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, for you, the opposite terms. How, because I now am working by myself, and even though it was very hard for me to negotiate terms and stuff, it's also so nice to be able to have people to bounce off ideas or be going through the same stuff together. Like the girls and I, we went through COVID together and the disappointment of it all. And so how do you, as I'm assuming you're working by yourself mostly?
Yeah, a lot, yeah.
How do you handle the pros, the cons of all of that space?
I think similar to you, I love working by myself. I came from, you know, like working with people and kind of like, I don't know if you felt this way ever, like you probably built up your 10,000 hours, but just like that anxiety, like going in and I'm just like.
I still feel it, to be honest, because just because somebody's like good, it doesn't mean you're gonna get along creatively.
That's true.
And I think I was so insecure in my own skill set back then that I was like, I just felt like, and I don't have like a strong personality. So if there's another songwriter in the room that's like da 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 da, like I'm like, okay, like you
were, like,
take,
disappearing.
like I don't know how to like overpower that. And I feel like I have always been more of a like when I'm collaborating with people, I kind of like to feel your energy and then play off of that. So. I feel like that hasn't always been available to me in the past, and that's why I started like producing myself and just knowing like exactly what kind of sounds I want. And I feel like, yeah, the pros are you know exactly what you want, you only have to deal with yourself. I will say I think the cons is, yeah, like now I have to practice being around people. I'm like so like when I speak words, I'm like, oh wow, I sounded like that. Like but and I think I am trying to work with people more in the capacity of like visuals and creativity because being an like independent artist with no like funding myself, like I was doing my own photo shoots and music videos and all that stuff. So the next era of me, I would love to, I think musically I feel pretty good in my own space, but like visually and creatively, like I'm like, okay, I want to hire some photographers and like makeup people that, you know, resonate with me. So I'm excited to collaborate with like creatives in a different, like not in the musical realm per se, but like
you still have the final say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you're the artist.
Yeah. And I would actually, now that I'm opening myself up to doing more sessions for like sync or what things that don't have to do with BAER and my artistry. I'm like, you know, like I have so much experience songwriting. I'd love to lend, and so many genres that I might not be expressing myself as my artist, that now I feel comfortable like going into a session and kind of like, okay, what do you need? Let me like vibe off that and complete the vibe, you know? Yeah.
Amazing. So what would your question be?
My question for both of you guys is, so if success was the only option, what would your life look like in 10 years? And what would you be doing in 10
I'm
years?
excited by this.
That is a beautiful question. Honestly, for me, I feel like it would look pretty similar to what I do now. I want to buy a house and I want to build a studio in it that's a little bit better than what I have, basically. But and I would love to have resources to invest into visuals and like really cool visual art for the music I create outside of the stuff I do as a songwriter for our group. I'm really interested in animation and creating characters that represent us, which I've
Kind of like KDA almost?
very similar.
Yes, I love the,
And I've actually like researched how to do that. I've made test animations myself just to see what it's like. It was really, really fun. But I definitely would want to work with teams and professionals and really talented people in that realm. So yeah, for me, I think it would be very similar to what I do now, you know, partially working with other artists because I love doing that and I don't want to give that up. And then, you know, having our own project and collaborating with, you know, other musicians, other talented people like video people, animators, photographers for that project. Yeah, and having kind of like a compound, that's my dreams, like a house that has also, you know, a warehouse for content shoots, for perhaps video shoots, and you know, a really great studio space with probably more than one room too, because I am also developing other producers and songwriters, and I'd love to have places for them to have sessions and, you know, to have like a really cool communal vibe.
Yeah, I love it. Everything but bigger. I love it. It's
10X,
happening.
like,
Success is the only option.
It is, yeah.
Yes, Mama.
I have so many ideas in my head and so many things. I mean, I feel like I just want to continue like trying more stuff, working with the music tech companies. It's just been, I'm at my dream already. Like being able to be successful, working for myself from home with my boyfriend and my dogs, and I'm already living the dream. So thank you for that, universe. But also, I want to like, you know, keep pushing myself and keep enjoying this process, and I want to eventually be the music tech company. And I've just started doing this like clothing line with producer clothes with 2 other people in Atlanta, so I guess I am collabing with that and just trying to build more and more different companies and just go back to my original mission statement, which is to make music production and music creation more accessible to more people, which is why I post all those tutorials and stuff, because my content isn't necessarily for pros even. It's maybe just for someone, instead of going home and watching Netflix after work, they can go home and make a beat on GarageBand or BandLab or Splice or, you know, whatever. And to just be able to bring music to more people and to show that like you can do this and make a good living. You can make 6 figures being an independent artist if you learn the 3 steps, not just be good at your craft, but also be good at marketing and also be good at sales. And I really try to preach that to more people. And then I also really want to do more like inspirational speaking and motivational speaking and go to different events. I have so many things.
Yeah,
That's
you
good.
can do it.
You're
I'm
fantastic
inspired.
at it. Yeah.
I just want to inspire people and then just help them live their best lives and
Amazing.
all of that. So
I mean,
lots of things.
On that note, you guys, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you all in the room today, to hear your feedback, your experiences, your music. For everybody watching, go check out these artist sample packs available now on Splice. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been
Yes.
Please give me a hug. Hug it out. Hug it out.